Well, hello my fellow car modelers. How are you doing today? Well, check it out. We've got a full chassis all assembled and everything. I kind of got the tires on there, just they're not really set and glued because I want to do some work on the wheels and tires after we do what we're about to do, which is we don't have an engine. I have just decided this is just going to be a curbside. I'm not really going to worry about an engine at this time, but I have it kind of set up. If I ever want to go back and do it, I will. But I have got everything kind of in here, just out of the box. See in there, minor detail, just painting. Got the all important fire extinguisher, because oh boy, you got to have that in a stock car. Again, what we're going for is that outward appearance. We're going to put that time into this body and all the little changes we got planned for this. The first thing we need to do is we need to know how far we got to bring these flares, because you know I took these wheels out a little farther than what they are from stock out of the kit, because we're going to have those bubble flares and we got to fill that room up. So we showed that in the last video on how we did that. So what I want to do is I want to go ahead and take a measurement here with my trusty little neat little measuring tape here, and we've got basically 3.5 inches from side to side there. Just gonna turn it a little bit this way. I'm gonna take a look at these also. So these are, yeah, it's about 3.5 inches from there to there. Probably a better way to do it is if I had two of these, and I didn't. If I did that, whoops. Let's see, let's try this so I can get a little bit more of make sure. But I would say it's 3 1/4, not 3.5. I was looking at it wrong. Just a smidge over 3 1/4. What is that? 3 3/8, 2/8. I don't know. What's the difference between 3/8 and 2/8? That's what I say. What's the difference? So let's take. I'm gonna get this over here, and let's take this body, flip it around, and let's see what we have from side to side in that body. And it is like 3 1/8. That is from outside to outside. So 3 inches, 3 1/8 inches we've got. So that means we are going to poke this thing out probably, let's see, to get it to just guesstimations. So if we have our fender flares come out, we're probably looking at about a 1/16 of an inch our fender flares have to come out on both sides. Because what do we got here in the front? We're going to have to bubble the front too a little bit because it's about the same width. Yeah, not much. It's actually a little wider in the front because Jim kind of designed a little bit of a pooched out flare already. So what we might do is I'm probably going to do my old way, a little bit of heating and pushing this out. And also we're going to get some room because you see how thick this is, because in models there's no way, you know, scaling down. We couldn't do this in, you know, real scale sheet metal. In the real world that would be iron plate. This thing would be bulletproof and it wouldn't move down the track for sure. So there's a way to make a lot more room. We got a lot of meat there to grind in, and I always like doing that. I've talked about knife edging before. I would do that anyways if I was building this right out of the box. So we're going to concentrate on the technique I use for doing the flares I'm planning on the back here, where if you watch my video, go back and watch the video. I'm not really going to cover it on this of how I'm planning on popping these out. It's just going to be with some heat and working it. And just watch, you know, this video right here. Look for that thumbnail, and that'll show you how I do all that. So let's go ahead and get started on this. So what I usually want to do is I want to figure out where my flare is going to be. And the flare, by looking at all the pictures we have of this car, it bubbles right here. And probably the best way to go about it is to get the proper circumference is I just take a tire. Okay, this is just to get an idea where it's going to go. So you see probably right about that. From the looks of it, looking at the pictures, the start of the flare usually happens right here at this body crease. Right about there is where we're going to want to start. So that gives me an idea, and it'll pretty much, looking at the pictures, terminate just around here, just below this body crease. And on this side, the pictures I'm looking at, just right about there. So we've got some body lines here that could be challenging, but when you see what I do, you'll get it. I'm going to go ahead and take the tire and use it as kind of a guide. I'm just going to go like that, around like, whoop. I'm being sloppy, but that didn't work out as good as I wanted. I need that third hand again, but that's okay. That gives me what I'm going for. That's pretty much how the areas that I want to have that bubble flare. Probably a little tiny bit higher, but it gives me something to go with. Now I like to use evergreen, plastic styrene stock here. Let's see, and to see what the size is, I'm going to use a mic here, and we're at 20 thousandths here. So that's about the thickness. I always have this laying around. This is my favorite thickness to work with. You can see how thin it is. It's not paper thin, but we're at about 20 thousandths. That maybe like about the thickness of a playing card. It gives you an idea what you want to use. How I usually will start out, let's just go ahead and again use the tire. I'm not worried about getting right to the edge of the tire. I just want to circle. So I kind of poke out, but that will do the trick. Let's cut it out. Cut it out. And me, I just use regular old scissors. I have a pair of scissors that I don't worry about dulling up. I don't cut anything precise with these. I use these for cutting plastic. You want to be as round as possible, but there's going to be a lot of sanding happening. But you want to keep as close to the shape you're going for. Alright, so I got my circle, and that's pretty much where it's going to go. Right about there. I think that might give us what we want, but you know what? I actually want to go a little bigger around. I don't like that. I want to find something that would be bigger around. We want to go a little bigger because what's happening here, I don't like this circle. Looks good up there, and that's about where I put it, but it's just not big enough. I want it to go a little bit over like that, so I want to go bigger. So here I got this bottle here. There we go. I think that's going to be the size I want. Let's see how much bigger it is. See how much more bigger that is? I think that's better. Let's go ahead and cut this out again. Now the thing is if my calculations are precise, should be able to actually use this circle for both sides. I hope that I can just cut it in half, and then I can, oops, I went a little off there, and I can just use one, but if not, we can cut out another one. I'm not concerned. Let's see how this fits on there. Yeah, that's a lot better. I think that's going to work out really good. And about half circle, yeah, I think I just need a half circle. And we're not, splitting atoms here or nothing. I'm an eyeball engineering kind of guy. And thank goodness for this little thing with all these graphs on there. I can kind of get an idea where the middle is. I'm going to put a mark there. That's pretty close to middle. Just one scribe line. I'll do another scribe line. That's all I need. And split away. Look at that. I'm not too off there. My eyeball engineering is, it is what it is. So we got that. I'm going to go ahead and give this thing a little eyeball engineering shot. This one's not very circular. I don't like it. But it'll come into use. Yeah, we're going to be needing those, so I'm putting those off the side. There's one over there. This is for this side. And here we go. This is where it gets all fun, kids.
Oh, what?
We got to get this precise. I'm going to go ahead and the whole time I'm looking at a picture of the car. And yeah, that flare pretty much starts. I'm going to, because I want to keep as much of that line right there. I'm going to just be a smidge under it. And I'm going to glue that right onto the body right there. Just going to put some glue on there. Just get this kind of started. Trying to keep it all straight. That's always fun. I'm just gluing it on to the top part. Let's see how starting it out. Just gluing it there. I'm going to throw a little accelerant on there. Get it all on there. Okay, so I'm going to take some glue in here. Get it down on that edge. Get it down on that edge. And I want to start curving it around. That can be challenging. That's what I love about using these CA glues and the accelerant. Because what we're doing, we're basically trying to follow the contour of the body. You see how we're following the contour of the body and getting it real tight? That's really important. Alright, so we've got all that. So you see how it's totally following the shape of the body, very tight. You just got to get this down here, right there. And I know it looks a little sloppy, but trust me, there's going to be so much sanding going on. There we go, look at that, all up in there. We got a little bit of a gap right there. We'll fix that in a moment. Alrighty, we are on there. Here we are, all done. Goodbye. No, we're not done. That's a cool look, huh? But you see, that's just not going to look right. It looks like we've got a Cadillac here with fender skirts. No, no, no. We don't want that. But wait, not going to cut that out yet. This is the trick. This is the whole plan to my madness here. You're going to like this. So if you get what I'm doing and why I have a smaller circle, look at this. We're going to start stacking it like cards. You see how that's smaller? And then I'm going to cut another one that's smaller and another one that's smaller, and I just build it out like that. I'm probably going to do maybe stack about 3 of them, maybe 4. And I'm going to keep on saying, you know, yeah, you can measure things and make sure it's all right, but quite honestly, man, your eyes, use your eyes. That's going to get you your look better than anything. All right, let's go ahead and put a shot down in there. Got that on there. Let's go ahead and put our glue. Now this will give you kind of a look. Thank you, Felix. Can you see that, how we're just getting, you're just stepping out and stepping out. It's kind of like a relief map. Gluing some more. This has got to be a lot of fun for you guys. I know, man, this does not look like precise model building. Kind of hacky, isn't it? Well, you don't want to know something? That's okay. So if you saw how they built these cars back in those days, man, they just pounded these fenders out. So you want to keep it as close, you know, same way with being symmetrical. That's why it's nice when you're cutting these out and they're just half circles. They're going to be the same size, so you do the same exact thing on both sides. But you know what? If it's not 100% perfect, man, it's not going to be a big deal. You see where we're getting here? You see how it's coming into focus? Let's cut out another one. I'm going to make this one smaller. Let's see, would that be a good size right there? Yeah, this would be perfect. Here on the inside, so much easier to draw it. Look at that. Looks like a maniac did that. Doop doop doo. I'm gonna try to cut this because I want this one to be a little bit smaller too, so I'm going to stay on the line. There we go. That's the most horrible circle I've ever seen. See if we can get it a little bit better. A little more of a circular circle. Look at that. Fits right into that little square right there. We can get an idea where we want to go with half and half. that there. Check this out. This is cool. So I put the X-Acto blade there, and I can just lay it across and just go. It kind of guides itself. You just need one little line, scribe line, and it breaks. Perfect. So this one we are going to put right about here. Yeah, I think that's giving us the bulge we want. This is awesome already. And I'm gonna bring this up again. Do not use Mark Fit. It's not gonna work. Not at all. It does not do well gluing plastic parts together. It's just not gonna happen, dudes. I'm telling you. I know. So we got that glued on there. Nice. Let's do a little dab of accelerant. Hoo-ha. That's cool. And I know this looks hack jobby, but when you see what I got to do, it doesn't matter. If you got glue all over the place, it's not a big deal. I mean, I kind of want to watch that, but quite honestly, that's way into the wheel well, so I think that's all I need to do. But really, you know what? I really don't have to. I hope you understand what I'm saying, but you see this part right here? I mean, it's all going to get cut away. But I still want this to all be really nice and tight, because we don't need a little flap here to catch when we're grinding and it pulls the whole thing off. I hate that a lot, and it makes me sad. I get a little sad about it. And there she goes. Bulging. Just so you can get an idea, do you see that? Is it coming into focus for you? You see where we're at there? And see how that's bulging out? And yeah, I'm thinking 3 will be fine, but we can always add more. We'll get it shaped. We're going to start shaping here soon. And we're going to get to the fun part, my favorite part of doing these. I love doing these. I haven't done one of these flaring jobs in a long time. I love it so much. But there we go. We've got that all, you know, don't be concerned about that. This kind of peeled up. It's pretty solid on there. The glue kind of moved, but that's really not that important. So there you go. You see that? The popping out. And I would say we pretty much met where we want to be, the amount out we want to go. And we will do a test fit. So here we go. We got some heavy grit paper. Yeah, I'm going to take me some 220. Now what you do is you start shaping this sucker. Okay. And you want to basically feather it all in right into the body. And can you see how we're shaping it? See that? You just follow the curves, man. It's just really easy. You just don't push onto it too much. You don't want to push down too much, because it could change the shape of it. Don't force it. Just let it glide. And I'm going to just work on the top right here right now. Now, something I don't want to lose is this character line right here. I get worried about that. This is a really important character line to the Monte Carlo. And sometimes what you can do to keep from sanding anything away that's important, I'm going to take this right here. Heck, I can go like this. I'm going to do a little, just cut out a circle here. And then I'm just going to go ahead, I'm going to lay this stuff down like that. Now this way we will protect all of those nice lines we have on the car and not sand them away. I'm also going to go ahead and let's shoot right about there. I don't want to get too close. We want to keep all these character lines protected. I'll take another little piece. And just kind of, there we go. We won't blow any of that away then. That's the best way to have it. So let's go back to sanding. But you can see how we're getting that nice bulged out look. And we want to sand it and make it very bulbous. We'll see how that works out for us. Just gotta shave that thing, but you see how those steps are starting to smooth out. You see that? Just keep sanding those and get those. You want to get as much of it to be like just full plastic, the least amount of Bondo or putty or whatever you like to use. You want to have, you should be able to, that's why you really jam the glue in there too, so that, you know, most of it's plastic. We're going to have to skim coat it, obviously, to really smooth it out. Well, with all this NASCAR stuff I've been doing, I'm starting to become the NASCAR channel here. NASCAR model building channel. But see, the thing is, you know, keep your mind open. This can be used on any type of car. A custom, I mean, you just want to form different shapes on your panels. I mean, just you cut your panels out and, you know, you stack them up like that. I mean, this works good for any type of modeling. You need to reform things and build up the plastic to create a shape. So I'm going to keep on working on this, and I'll come back when I got it all sanded and we move to the next step. Alrighty, so I went ahead and got that thing all sanded. Take a look at that. It's kind of bulgy right there, but that's all going to get ground out. You see, we still got that Cadillac look right there. It's ridiculous. I'll go ahead and pull all this off. See how we protected the lines. You see, we lost a little bit of the line right there, but you know, that's all right. Just an old stock car. So we've got that all kind of smoothed in the best we can, so we can do the least amount of skimming with Bondo. But now we got to open that baby up, and I'm just gonna follow the line. That's it. Let's just follow the line. See what that looks like? Boom, look at that. Got ourselves a little pop out there. I'm just going to do a little bit of dressing it up. Let's assess. Now still, it's very, very thick in here, so we still wouldn't be able to get that tire in there. So, and quite honestly, I'm going to go down back to the 220 here. I'm just going to give a little bit of shaping. Can you see the difference? See how much farther out that is? Look at that. I don't know, I don't know if you can tell. It looks pretty pronounced. I mean, it's definitely, you know, a lot different from that side. But one thing we want to do is you want to look at it from this and kind of shape it too. See that? You want it to be shaped right. It'd be right about there. I don't know. What do you think? I'm kind of liking it. That's a pretty smooth fender. I think when we get some Bondo on there, smoothed out, I think it's going to look good. We can get it shaped. Need to do some priming to really get a good look at it, but I think that's going to work out pretty good. So what we want to do is I want to come in here now and kind of grind out the original plastic here and get it so we have room for the tire, and then we'll do a test fit on the chassis just to see how it looks. Then we're going to kind of do that knife edging effect I've done in the past. Alright, so you see how we opened that all up in there and gave it some room. So we got ourselves a nice flare job. I hit some areas I really didn't want to. I'll have to fix with Buddy. You always got to watch out and nick the quarter panel right there. Hate that a lot. But there we go. We've got that. See how it just has a little more. I'm going to probably work on it a little bit more, but now this tire will fit up in there, probably right about like such, and it'll just have that sheet metal look too, where it's not thick like this, because I'll do it to this too, but I still got a little bit more to do. I just wanted to get enough space. I don't want to get it too thin because I'm still going to be doing some sanding and work on that, so I got to have a bit of structure here. But you can see how I have even gone through the original plastic and I'm into the styrene that I stacked up. So that's how much wider we are now. And you can see the differences. So let's put it on the chassis and see what it's like. There you go. Look at that. That's pretty cool. Man, that looks nice. Take a look at that shot. If that don't scream 70s stock car, I don't know what the heck does. By the looks of things, there's still some rubbing going on. I'm going to have to thin out in there a little bit more. But, I don't know, let me make sure this is all in the right spot. Yeah, what do you think? Is that going to do it? That's going to do it. Yeah. Yeah. I think so. I'm liking it. I actually would kind of like to leave it. I just need to make a little bit room in the back there, grind a little bit more out, but I think that's going to do the job. We're going to pop this fender out a little bit so we can get that tire to get in there, because it really can. I got to put way negative camber into it. Being a road course car, it would have a lot of negative camber, but I might be able to just grind and be able to fit those tires up in there. But I think I want to put a little bit more of a pop, but I'll probably do that with just heating and pushing and bring it out a little more like in that other video. Okay, I got everything kind of roughed in. I wanted to show you guys. It's all on this side. So on the front fender, I did a little bit of heating up, and I don't know if you can tell, but I got it popped out a little bit. I wish I would have gone a little farther, but I already had knife edged it. You can see you see that look we get? You see how it looks like sheet metal? That's just by doing that knife edging. If you go over to that video, at the end of this video, there will be a link to my video of how I do fender flares, and I show how I do some knife edging on there. And you saw me do it a little earlier. That just gives it that thin sheet metal look instead of being thick like when you just kind of leave the models alone, the way they come out of the box. It's just a nice way. You can really see right there. Because you see that right there? You see how it looks really thin right in there? That's just from getting behind there and just being really careful with a Dremel and just grinding it down where it's knife edged, like a razor. I got this all roughed in. So there you get a good look at how the car is going to sit. I haven't done this other side, so we're going to look at the other side so you see the difference. Let's just get a shot down, just down. You can really see how I pubbed that flare out a little bit more, and how it looks good with that tire. But then you go down the line here, there's that bubble flare we're trying to get. Yeah, I'm really pleased with how that looked out, and we'll kind of get it shaped when I start puttying it up. That tire that was sticking out, it's not sticking out anymore, and it just has a good nice look in it. Let's just flip around this way and get a look from this angle. Yeah, it definitely does have that look that I love, the look that the 70s cars had. And you know, when I was doing this all, things aren't perfect, and you kind of want that to be. You don't want things to be absolutely perfect. It's a little rough. You can see how the edges are a little kind of wavy. These things were hand formed back in those days, you know, and it was a tool. They weren't worried about total aesthetics. It was all purpose. It was function over form. Here we go. I can't even get this tire in on this side because I haven't flared that fender. So you see what I'm talking about? You see how we've got that thickness there? Why knife edging is really so important in getting a good look. I do that on every stock car. To me, that's just an aesthetic on stock cars. that I have to have on every model. It doesn't matter if it's a slammer or a full detail. I do that to all my stock cars. And look at how far, because remember I set the tracking on that rear end, the tires stick out a lot farther than they're supposed to out of the kit. So it really isn't fitting too well. You see that? So that just goes to show you how much we got of a flare on this side. So that's pretty cool. So right now what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and start getting some mud on that sucker. This side, I pretty much got that formed. I'm not going to do any body work on that. I just probably sand it a little more with some lighter grit. We're going to get the putty on here, and we're going to get this all primed up. I also got to do the other side, and that's where we'll be when I come back. So a little time has passed, and I did work on the other side. You can see that we've got a bubble flare there, and I've taken care of the front fenders. So I've done all that roughing in. Now, I kind of shot some video, but I'm not going to bother with it. I actually didn't have my mic on, and things didn't really turn out. I did a little bit of experiment on this side. So you can see that it's primered and it's kind of rough. It needs a lot of work still. You can still see things. I tried a different putty out that it's a, I don't know, there might be a good use for it. It seemed really interesting. It's from Mr. Hobby. What caught my eye is that it was called a dissolved putty. It's almost like a thick primer. But quite honestly, not a fan. Didn't really like it. Takes forever to harden. It's very powdery when you sand it, and it really doesn't do the job. I still yet to find a putty from the hobby industry that really satisfies me. I'm not a big fan of any of them that I've tried. So what my go-to putty, unfortunately, is one, hard to get, very expensive, doesn't have a good shelf life, and you have to get it in large quantities, but I absolutely love this stuff and I suggest it highly, is Evercoat Metal Glaze. I have never ever found anything better than that, and there's a few other in the automotive world is where I go for my putties, is basically what I'm saying. It's a polyester putty. It's extremely smooth. It goes on wonderful. It starts to set up in a reasonable time, and you can start sanding on it like before it totally cures. You want to start sanding on it anyways, which is something I'm going to kind of show you. You can start sanding in about 5 minutes after you've done your final swipe, and start shaping it, and then let it totally cure and really do some good sanding on it, and it just doesn't shrink over time. It's just the best stuff. But I don't have that because mine dried out, and again, hard to get a hold of, and it's extremely expensive. But if you're really doing some trick work, put the money into getting that stuff and try it out. It's really good. Now, when I don't have it, and I did not have my standby, is some stuff that is okay, and it comes from the automotive world. A lot of guys use it and really love it. I used to use it a lot, and I liked it, but it's very easy to get a hold of, and I didn't have any right now. I need to finish this project. I've kind of been waiting. You guys have been kind of waiting. So I ran across the street to O'Reilly's and picked up this. The glazing spot putty from Bondo. It's red. I hate the red. I don't want, hate's a hard word, but this is my, if I got no other choice, I'll go with this. And so let's pop it open. So this is probably kind of the best stuff to use in doing stuff like this because it's so darn available. All the major auto parts stores carry it, and it's good. It's good. It's not great. It's not the polyester stuff that I like to use. 3M also has different types of glazing putty that are like different colors. The polyester putty, like the metal glaze, like I said, it is a 2-part putty where you have to use a cream hardener, which it's a pain, but it's worth it. It does make all the difference in the world. This stuff you don't. It's right out of the bottle. We're ready to rock. You just take this. That's my little lesson on putties, by the way. And you pop this. But there's guys like Mark Batson that swears by this stuff, and it's all he uses. And of course, we know what his models are like, so he can't be doing something wrong there. But anyways, I got it popped open. I'm gonna let's get ready though to do some smearing of the putty. Let's take a good look at what we have here. You see all that. I've really done a lot of filling with the CA glue, but there's a lot of body work that has to be done. We got to cover up all those lines of the layers. I'm going to take a piece of tape and put it right there, and I'm just going to squirt my putty out. Put a little there, and we'll take a little bit, and your whole thing is you want to really try to be as smooth as possible. And you just got to be smooth, and you see it's already setting up. The stuff starts to set up, and it just gets I hate spreading this stuff. Let's try to get some on here. So you just can't be, you want to try to be as smooth as possible. The smoother, the easier it is to shape it. You want it to get into everything, and you want it to be uniformly covered. This stuff has a tendency to be really, I don't know how to describe it, but you see how it just clumps and lumps, and that's what I like about the other stuff. It doesn't lump up like that. And I'm just sitting here complaining. It's just, I don't know, this stuff is sloppy to me. I'm just complaining the whole time I'm doing it because it's not my friend. The way that other stuff, I'm able to get there and just, you want to kind of go real nice and smooth across there, have a very smooth finish. Now this is kind of like a relief map of Nebraska, and that's going to create a lot of sanding. So, and it's just getting, I push down. It's just like, it's putty. What can I say? So there's my messy. That's pretty embarrassing. That other stuff, I like to really make it smooth, and usually I can. This stuff I can never get smooth. And it just starts hardening. It starts hardening, not even hardening, it starts thickening really quick, where the other stuff stays really smooth for a while, and then it starts to kick. And at that point, when it starts to kick, that stuff you can start shaping. This stuff you have to let it sit for a while. But one big mistake people do, especially when using this, because it is a little bit more clumpier, it can be a really pain to sand. Don't let it just sit for a long time and then come back to it when it's rock hard. You want to start sanding on it when it's still a little bit soft, a little bit pliable, and you want to lightly, like, that's when you do your shaping. And then you let it harden up, which we will, and we will start, getting it to be all smooth and pretty. While we're waiting on that to set up, I want to show you guys something I did on this side. Well, first, there's something on these bodies, not knocking the bodies. It's so nice to have the, okay, well, I guess we're playing, Felix brought some dice. We're gambling here. There you go, buddy. And it is a roll of the dice on my model building, I'll tell you that. So, something I wanted to show just to make these cars look even a little bit better. Something that catches my eye, and if you can see, compared to the roof, the top of the window kind of droops down a little, and that line right there on the upper window is a little bit kind of angled up. And I just took, a sanding stick, like my sanding stick, and I went in there and I just kind of hit it a bit, and I just kind of got things a little more. There's enough meat there that you can get that line up on top a little more straight, and then I kind of followed more of the contour of the roof and just made that a little more straight. I just think it cleans up the car a bit. Just little simple modifications here and then to already take something really nice and just make it a little bit, nicer if you choose. It's not a big deal. It's just something I saw and I just kind of wanted to do. It's been about a total of 15 minutes since I laid this down, and I'm going to start kind of giving a little test run. Now you start sanding it. If it's balling up, you kind of want to back down. I use a heavy grit because I'm really kind of like just wanting to shape it. I'm not pressing down on it. I just want to shape it. I don't want to rip all this bodywork off. I just want to get it shaped and even. See, right there it's still a little mushy, so I'm going to kind of step back a bit, and we're going to just let that harden a little bit more. I don't know if you noticed when this all started kind of coming up again, because it's still very soft and I could squeeze it back into place. So it's been a few. I think we're plenty hardened now. I actually kind of put a little bit more on, but we're going to go ahead and kind of rough that thing in and get it shaped. Watching, not going too far down. But we got to get all that roughness gone. And that's where it pays to try to get it as smooth as possible. Like I can see right there, I'm probably going to have to do a little more puttying. So what I'm going to do now is, I want to get that fairly cleaned off. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to shoot some primer on this, and then we're going to look and see how freaking awful my body work is. So I'll be right back. Alrighty, we shot some primer. It's still wet and setting up, and whoa. That's the nice thing about the primer, is it shows you how all the spots you miss and how horrible it is. But it's the rough end. We're going to have to start spot putting and sanding. And I kind of shot some primer over on this fender. We see the scratches and everything, but that's our first like fill primer there, and we'll start smoothing that out. Look at that clump of putty right here. It's got to get worked out. And yeah, I just couldn't see it that well, you know. This, you get to see all your imperfections and really work on it. We're not losing too much of the body line, but again, we're getting that look, that bubbled look. Well, that's got to be smooth. You cannot paint over this. It will look, well, you'll see all the putty work. You want that to be smooth and look natural, like it's just pounded out sheet metal. That just looks like a mudded up clump yuck of a mess. So I'm going to let this sit, and we're going to get back to putting a little spot putty on there, doing a little bit more sanding, and get that thing smoothed out. But that's the thing about doing this kind of stuff. When it comes to body work, you got to do it, sand it, do it again, sand it. It's the only way you're ever going to make it perfect. It's just like when you get done finally getting the body work, you got to primer, sand, primer, sand, primer, sand. That's the only way you're going to make things look smooth, or you're going to end up, I mean, that will show right through the paint. Paint's not going to cover that up, and it's just going to be a real boo factor. We'll see how it turns out. All right, so we've been working it a bit. Well, we were off camera. You saw that terrible, how bad it looked. And what I did is I went with a little bit of the putty, just with a, at that point I like to use like an old X-Acto knife, and I would just kind of hit the areas that really needed to be dealt with. I still got a couple little areas right there I see, and there. Really tough because they're on the character line and all that, but you can see really how much better it is. It's very smoothed out. We got all the little pits and divots and crunchiness about it. So what I usually do is, after I put my first coat of primer, which is usually a couple of coats, and then I see where my imperfections are, and then I hit some spot putty, and then I went and I take like sanding pads. I get these from the automotive paint supply place, either 3M or Norton, but you see it says right there 1000-800. They're 800 grit, and when you run them underwater and wet sand with them, they're more like 1000 grit. But you can also get these from Tamiya. Tamiya, basically, their gray pads are pretty much this, and they have all different kind. The super fine from 3M is also 800 grit to 1000 grit. That's what I use underwater. Now, I didn't take my camera in there. I do that in my bathroom, running water over it as I sand. That kind of keeps the sandpaper very clean, and it helps cut and shape things, and you get a lot smoother finish by wet sanding at that point. So I've done that. Now what I would do next is I'm going to shoot some more primer on here, probably use a little bit more spot putty, sand it, shoot some more primer. You see how we go there? So it's going to be a couple of back and forths. I also worked on this side. I got it all knocked down, and the body work looking a lot better here. The thing is all around looking really good, and you can see we got that fixed up in more different shape there on the roof and on that opera window. I'm going to go ahead and do it on this side and get this all into primer and show you what it looks like. But that's really all it is to it. So I'm going to finish this up. In the next scene, we're going to see a nice primered car on the chassis and the tires sitting there, and we'll get that look of that bubbled flare that we're going for. Okay, well, I lied. I am not 100% done, but I wanted to kind of show you a little bit of a progression here. I don't have it totally primered, and well, we're going to just use this to finish up this video. You get the gist. because we're going to have another video of painting this model. I don't know when, but we needed to conclude making these flares. I am not totally finished, and this just goes you to show bodywork. You really got to take your time. It's getting better looking. It's getting way better looking, but I'm still not happy. I still have some bad areas here. And what I've been doing, and I've done it probably 2 times since I shut the camera off, I will primer, and right now my primer is still setting up, so I'm not ready to sand, and then I spot putty, and then I go and I wet sand, then I go primer, and I spot putty, and I wet sand, I primer. I've done that 2 times, and I'm going to do it again, and hopefully the next putty job I can get rid of working this body line right out or something. I just got a weirdness there and still a little bit of a divot, but we're getting a really smooth, nice look there. So happy with that. And the other side's looking just as good. We've got that. So we've got our shape, we've got our body work pretty well done. We're now doing the prep. I'll do as many prime, spot putty, and sand as it takes till that is smooth. I'm going to do that. And in the next episode, because this is getting long, we're going to show you that and move into actually painting the car. This is what everybody wanted to see, so I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to put this together, and we're going to get some good angles and looks to see how that tire looks in that wheel well right here, right now. And so here we go. There's that look we're going for. You can see how it's popped out. You can see the line right there of the start of the bulging out of the fender, and then it's like all puffed out like that, like in the picture. How's that? That is the total look that we're going for. Let's get an angle from here, but you can see what we're going for. I keep having to put my arm in here to turn it and block the light, but let's get a good shot right down the side. You see how that just bulges right out? How's that for a look? Look at that. We've got a nice curvature there. That is how we bubble fender a car. Again, this is not finished. I am going to keep primering and sanding and spot putting if need be, because I want it to be perfect. Let's take a look at the other side. Other side's got that equally good look. But yeah, what do you guys think? Okay, I'm trying to get kind of an equal angle look at that fender as it is in the box art. And you can see that bulge. It's probably a little bit harder to see. I bet you when we get the green on there, you really see the pronunciation of, like I said, there's a line here and a line here where you can see where the bulge starts coming out. And it's just poofed out. Gives us that look. We got a way wider stance. And I'll tell you, man, it is turning out nice. This is going to look really cool. It just takes some time. It's really easy to do. I did it all step by step. Take your time. Don't miss a step. You're going to get this look. And it is going to be very pleasing to the eye, especially when we get the paint on here. Oh, man, it is going to look sweet. You're going to really, really see it stand out when it's on, when the green is on there. And the way the light reflects. I tell you what, guys, go and have fun with this. Give this a try. There are so many of these Monte Carlos that had this look that you can, and other cars too. It's not just, it was just a popular way of flaring fenders in the late 70s and early 80s. You saw it a lot. You really did see it quite a bit. It's a cool way to make your model build stand out from the others when we're all building the same kit. It's just another way of making what is a great looking model kit look a little different and a little bit more specific to a particular car you're replicating. You always wondered how to do bubble flares. Now you know, go out and do them. I know you guys were asking. There's a whole bunch of people going, when are we going to see the rest of that? I want to know how to do this. Well, here it is. Now, I don't know when. I got some other builds I got to get on and a few other projects. I'm going to have to set this aside for a while before I get it all finished, all the prep done, and we are going to be putting it into paint. I will make a video on that later on, but we got to get this out, especially for Rick. He's been kind of getting bummed at me. Not really, though. He's been plugging at me, saying, you got to get this. I want to see how you do it. That's how I do it. I know this was a long one. I hope you guys went for the long haul because it's worth it and you learned something. Go out there. Keep building these model cars. Why is it? Why is it that we build these model cars? Well, it's easy because it's fun. Here's the producers. So let's go ahead, and I've got my little glue palette right there that all of a sudden I seem to want to lay all my frickin' tools into, no matter where I put my glue palette. See my glue palette right here? If I put it over here, I'll lay everything over there. If I put it over here, I'll put my elbow in. If I put it over here, I put my hand, my arm. You probably can see I've already glued my arm, but you know, I try my best. I'm a maniac, what can I say? So, there. That was my rant for the day. I'll either cut this out or I'm just flat out lying to you. I glued my finger! I glued my finger. We glued our fingers. Now there's a little bit of me on there. That's gross, but nothing like, you know, some skin for filler. As I always do, let me get rid of my glue palette, because I'm putting my arm right in it. Always. Why the heck not?